Should you build custom solutions? Should you productize? Should you go broad? Should you go niche and only serve one specific market? These are all very important questions that I get all the time. And I know they're important because I made the mistake of choosing the wrong approach and it cost me 6 months of running around in circles. So in this video, I'm gonna help you choose the best strategy for your AI automation agency, and I'll even tell you what I would do if I were to start all over again. But before we get there, let me set something straight. Fundamentally, business is just supply and demand. Someone has a problem and they want that problem solved. Someone else is providing the solution to that problem as a service. So that person that wants the problem solved then finds the person that's providing that solution as a service, pays them, and instead of the payment, gets their problem solved. So to put this in perspective for you, imagine you want to clean your house. Your house is really dirty. That's your problem. So what you do is that you find someone that's providing house cleaning services as a service for their business. And what you do is you pay them money, and instead of the money that you pay them, they come and clean your house. So you guys transact, meaning that person provides you a service, and instead of that service, you pay them money. So both people are happy. Now the person that wants their house cleaned has their problem solved, and the person that's providing that house cleaning services as a service has made money, so they're happy as well. And so that fundamentally is how the economy works. That's how businesses work. It's a transaction. It's hard for us as human beings to do everything that we want. So what we do is we hire other people. By paying them money, they solve our problems. Now, with that being said, every business has to have 2 core ingredients. So if we go back to the idea that I just introduced of the transaction between the business and the person that wants their problem solved, well, the business needs to have 2 things. Number 1, they should know what they're selling or what their actual service that they're providing is, what solution to what problem are they actually providing. And then they also have to know who is going to buy the service. So as long as they know what they're selling and who they're selling it to, they're in business. And so that brings us to the concept of the AAA strategy matrix. And the whole idea is when you're running an AI automation agency, you should know these 2 fundamental things. What are you actually selling, or what service or product is your business providing? And who are you selling that to? So especially when it comes to AAA, there's 2 types of solutions you can offer, 2 types of services. You can either be a custom solutions agency, or you can be a productized agency. And when it comes to who you want to sell to, well, there's broadly 2 different strategies. Number 1, you can try sell to everyone, which means you want to go broad, or you can try sell to a specific ICP or a specific avatar, and in that case, you're going niche. So in the next section, I'm going to go through exactly what each of these options are, and I'm going to compare them in terms of pros and cons to help you make the perfect decision for your business. So first, let's start with what do you want to sell? So what is your actual service? Well, as I said, the first business model you can have as an AI automation agency is to be a custom development agency. Now, as the name suggests, a custom development agency provides custom solutions to each client's problems. So if we take a look at this image over here, what a custom solutions agency does is that if they're, for example, talking to 3 different customers, they will identify what the problem of each of those customers is, and then they will provide a solution to that problem. So every single time they get a new customer, it's likely going to be a new problem that that person has and a new solution that they will have to provide to that person. So if you have 100 different clients, you're probably going to make 100 different solutions to 100 different problems that they actually had. Now, the other way you can run your AAA agency is you can have a productized agency. And what this means is you've identified a problem that multiple people have, and then you just find those people and sell that solution to them. So every single time you get a customer, it's likely going to be the same problem and the same solution you're offering to that problem. So let's say if you get 100 customers, every customer is probably going to get the same solution because every customer likely has the same exact problem. And the difference between the 2, as the name suggests, is in this case, you're selling a product, meaning it's a product that you've defined from before, a solution that's pre-made, and you're selling that to every single person. Whereas with the other business model or the custom development agency, you're making this product for every single customer. So instead of you having it in advance and trying to sell it, which is what you're doing with the productized agency, with the custom development agency, you're building it each and every single time you get a new client depending on their problem and their scenario. Now, with that being said, which one should you choose? Should you go with a custom development agency or should you go with a productized agency? Now, we're going to compare them through a series of questions that's going to help you Identify which is the best option for your specific scenario. Well, the first thing about a productized agency is that you have to know that there is a problem that multiple people are actually facing. Because as I said, what you're doing is you're finding that problem in advance, you're building a solution to it, and then you're just selling that solution to every single person that has that problem. So realistically, what you need to know in advance is what that actual problem is. Because if you build a solution to a problem that doesn't actually exist, well, then no one's going to pay for that because they don't actually have that problem. So if you ever wanted to go productize, the first thing you should 100% know is what the problem you're solving actually is. And that problem needs to be a real problem. It needs to actually exist. It's not just a problem that you think people potentially have. It has to be a problem that they actually have. And so to a certain degree, your problem has to be validated. So the first question you should ask yourself is, do you know if a problem truly exists? If you don't, I would recommend you go with a custom development agency because it's very easy to make an incorrect assumption when it comes to choosing the problem. Now, probably the two most important things to consider when you're choosing between custom development agency and a productized agency is the idea of scalability versus speed. So as a business owner or as a freelancer, if you're just starting out in the space, you should always think of your output as your hourly rate. How much money are you making per hour? Some people say how much money they're making per month or how much money they're making per year. I want you to think of how much money you're making per hour, and that's really showing you how much output that your business is actually providing you. Time over money. And when I say hourly rate, I'm not talking in terms of like getting a job and how much they're paying you on the hourly. Even when you're running a business, fundamentally you're making money, and so you can still convert that to an hourly rate of how much money you're making from your business. And so what we're doing in this graph is we're looking at what your hourly rate would be running each of these agencies over time. So as you guys can see on this graph, with a custom development agency, what happens is you very quickly start making money. So your hourly rate increases from $0, meaning that you're actually in business now. You're making money, you've got clients. But then what happens is very quickly you hit this roof or this limit or this asymptote that you can't go up from anymore, meaning your hourly rate has maxed out. Whereas when you run a productized agency, what happens is you don't make money for a pretty long time. And this period where you're not making money is basically the period where you're still making your product. You're building your product, you're talking to customers, you're making sure that it's a real problem, you're iterating on it, you haven't actually sold that solution to anyone yet, and so you're still technically not in business. You're just building this product. So it takes you longer to actually make money. It takes you longer to actually earn an hourly rate from the business or from the work that you're doing as an AI automation agency. But then what happens with a productized agency is once you're in business and once you found the real problem, you built the real solution to that problem, very quickly you can increase your hourly rate far beyond a custom development agency, and then eventually you hit a roof at some point when you sell to every single person that has that problem or you reach your TAM. And TAM just is an idea of saying, hey, what's the total size of the market that potentially has the problem that you're solving? So once you've sold it to everyone, then you hit this roof, and there's ways of obviously going beyond that roof. Like for example, sell it to everyone else that probably also has a similar problem by slightly tweaking the solution, but we're not talking about that yet. We're just talking about that one problem or that one product that you're trying to sell. And so the two fundamental ideas that I want you guys to take away from this graph is that number one, if you run a custom solutions agency, you will make money quicker. So it's a quicker way to make money and get started in the industry. Whereas if you were to run a productized agency, you would be able to make more money, meaning you'll be able to scale higher than running a custom solutions agency. Because your limiting resource is just marketing. If you can build a really good marketing funnel and just get to as many people as possible, you will be able to make much more money than you will running a custom solutions agency. And so if you want to make money quickly, I would recommend going with a custom solutions agency. But if you want to build a business that will eventually make a lot more money, I would recommend going with a productized agency because it's a much more scalable business model. Now, as I said, even when you run a custom solutions agency, technically you can hire, and hiring would increase your hourly rate again because now you can take on more people. But then the rate of increase of your hourly rate would reduce because when you hire, your margins are actually smaller. You're not taking 100% of the profit. You have to pay the person that actually built the solution for you. And hiring within itself is a pretty big pain. So scaling a custom solutions agency is pretty difficult in reality. And with a productized agency, once you have that product and you've sold it to all the people that potentially wanted that product, well, you can either build another product, or what you can do is you can try and find people people in complementary industries that have a similar problem, tweak the solution, and then sell it to these people as well. And that will allow you to go beyond your total market size or your TAM. So you can technically still scale both beyond what I've shown here, but the idea is with the productized agency, it's just much more scalable than a custom solutions agency. And so as I said, if you want quick money, go custom. If you want big money, go product. Now, the next thing that you should definitely consider is that when you're running this productized agency, although I said, yes, you can scale much higher, but it's much higher risk because there's a very, very good chance that you're actually wrong in the assumptions that you made about the problem that exists and the solution that will solve it. Because as I said, what you're doing as a productized agency is you're saying, okay, well, this is a problem that let's say 100 people have, and then this is the solution that I'll build for it. And so there's realistically two things you can do. You can either go and validate that problem and that solution before you go and build it and productize it, or you can just try and build it quickly and sell it to everyone. There's a very good chance that the assumptions that you make about the problem and the solution to that problem are going to be wrong. And so there's a very good chance that when you run a productized agency, you will just never make money. No one actually wants to buy your solution. You've put all this time up front, you've built it out, and no one actually wants it. Well, in that case, obviously you can make a new solution or go after a new problem altogether and then hopefully make money. But the idea that I want to convey here is that when you're running a productized agency, because you're making these assumptions up front, there's a good chance that you're going to be wrong. And so there is a risk that you literally will never make money. And just like everything else in life, running a AAA agency is the same thing. More risk you want to take, the more money you'll make. Meaning if you go with a product, it's obviously more risk, but you make more money. Whereas if you want to go the low risk route, meaning going with a custom solutions agency, you're going to make less money in the future. So the question you should ask yourself is, how risk tolerant are you? Are you happy to work for, let's say, 3 to 6 months, build out a very beautiful product and maybe potentially not even sell it and then have to go and either build another product or do something else? Or are you in a scenario where you need to make money as soon as possible and you can't take that much risk? Maybe you've just quit your job, or maybe you run a family and you need to make sure that you have money coming in consistently. So depending on how much risk you can take in your current scenario, that should influence whether you go with a productized agency or a custom solutions agency. Because with a custom solutions agency, it's very low risk because all you're doing is you're finding a certain person and that person is saying, hey, I have this problem. If you can solve this problem for me, I will pay you, right? So you're not making any assumptions. You're just finding the person. They're telling you what they want. You're building it for them. They're paying you, which means you're making money. And then you're going to the next person doing the same thing and the same thing after that. So there's less assumptions and less risk that goes into it. And so with that being said, by asking these 4 questions, you should know whether you want to go custom or you want to go productized. The first question is, do you know if a problem actually exists? If you don't know the problem actually exists, then just go custom. Because it's very hard to sit down and just try and think of problems that people have. You're going to make incorrect assumptions and very likely you're going to make a solution to a problem that only exists in your mind and not in your customer's mind. So if you don't actually know if a problem exists, I would recommend either doing research and talking to that customer to make sure the problem 100% exists before you go and build the solution, or just go with a custom agency and skip that altogether. Then the next question I want you to ask yourself is, do you need to make money now? As I said, if you're in a scenario where you need to make money as soon as possible, then I would 100% recommend going with a custom solutions agency. People inside my community have literally made money within just like a couple of days. I'm not saying everyone's going to make money in a couple of days, but there is enough demand in the market and there is enough problems that will be solved with AI that if you wanted to go custom, it would be very easy for you to be able to make money just by solving any one of these people's problems. Because think of AI as an enabler, right? AI isn't this very niche, narrow thing that you can apply to only one problem. You can use AI to solve multiple problems across multiple industries, right? And so all you have to technically do is find someone that's interested in AI and wants a problem solved, and then just solve that problem for them. So it's pretty easy to make some money running a custom agency pretty quickly. And then the next question I want you to ask yourself is, are you able to take the risk of making no money at all? Because as I said, productized, higher risk, high return. So if you are in a scenario where you're happy to work for a while and potentially not make any money at all from that product, then I would recommend going with a product. For example, you might be a student and you don't necessarily have a lot of overheads in your life. And in that case, well, it's fine for you to take some risk to potentially make more money in the long term. And so I would recommend you guys go with a productized agency if you can take that risk. But if you're in a scenario where you know you need to make money, I would recommend going custom, because going custom is definitely going to be the safer option. Now, the last question that I want you to ask yourself, which is kind of a bonus question, is do you want to learn AI? So do you want to truly learn AI? Because as I said, AI is this big general broad thing. And if you want to truly learn it, there's a lot of different concepts that you have to learn. Now, the good thing about going with a custom solutions agency is every single person that comes to you is coming to you with a different problem. And so the solution you'd have to offer to their problem is also different. And being exposed to all these different problems and all these different solutions in turn means you're exposed to different parts of AI or different AI technologies that you would have to work with and learn. And so running a custom solutions agency exposes you to more concepts more quickly. So it's a faster way of learning AI as a general technology. Whereas if you were to run a productized agency, very likely what you're going to do is you're going to choose one specific part of AI, and that's the only thing you need inside your solution. So then you just learn that and you build out the actual product. So technically, when you run a productized agency, you're spending more time learning the actual problem than you are learning AI as a whole, because you'd probably only need one specific part of AI to solve that problem. And so I like to say, if you want to actually come in and learn AI as a consultant so you can understand all the different parts of AI as a whole, I would recommend going custom. It will make you an actual AI expert. And if tomorrow you decide to add consulting to your services, running a custom solutions agency will make you a much better consultant. Now, at this stage, after asking yourself these 4 questions, you should know whether you want to go custom or whether you want to go productized. Now we want to look at the second integral part of the business, which is who we're actually selling to. And when it comes to understanding who you're actually selling to, there's 2 different approaches you can take, whether you want to run a custom agency or a productized agency. The 2 approaches is you can either go broad, meaning you're happy to help anyone, or you can go niche, meaning you only want to help a specific avatar or a specific type of customer. So as you can see in the case of broad, you're like, I don't really care. I offer AI solutions. Whoever wants an AI solution, just come and let me know and I will sell the service to them. So if you're running a product, for example, you might be making a marketing solution like an SEO automation, and you don't really care who wants to buy the automation. You're like, everyone can come and get this SEO automation, implement it in their business and make money from it. And so technically you don't have a specific avatar that you want to choose. Whereas the other approach, going niche, means you only want to sell to a specific person. You're like, I only sell to accountants. The person or my ideal customer is an accountant. So you cross out all the other people in the economy and you only go with the accountants, which is these 3 people here. Now, what I would recommend when it comes to going niche or broad as an AI automation agency is to market niche and build broad. What I mean is that when it comes to marketing, I want you to have a niche. When you're building your website, I want you to have a niche and say on your website that I sell to accountants or I solve problems for real estate agents. When it comes to sending out cold emails, I want you to send those cold emails to real estate agents or accountants or whoever you're trying to target. So when it comes to marketing, I would like for you to go niche, meaning choose a specific avatar and only market to them. Because what happens in marketing is if you were trying to just sell to the entire economy, your messaging wouldn't actually resonate with anyone. And so the marketing efforts that you put in aren't going to get as good results as you wanted. And also when it comes to, for example, sending cold emails, you don't know who you're actually meant to send it to. So when you go on Apollo and you want to scrape these leads, you're like, oh crap, like who am I actually going to send these emails to? Who am I going to scrape first? And so you get lost when it comes to marketing, and marketing will become much less effective if you're just going broad and going for anyone. So generally, I would recommend you choose a niche, and especially when it comes to marketing, focus on that niche first. Now, with that being said, I would recommend you still build broad. What I mean with building broad is that a lot of the times, even if you're saying that you help, for example, real estate agents, you will still find people from other industries that will approach you and say, hey, we have this problem, can you solve it for us? Now, obviously, if you're running a AAA agency and you're new to the business, your goal should be to make money and learn as soon as possible. So you should definitely not tell someone to go away just because they're not your ideal customer. So when it comes to building, if someone came to you and they weren't in your specific niche and they wanted to pay you money to solve their problem, you still should, because it will help you make money quicker, and it will also teach you the process of running an agency and fulfilling the product or whatever it's going to be. So when it comes to marketing, going niche would help you a lot. It will make your marketing much more effective and even easier to do. But when it comes to actually building out these solutions, if you had someone come to you that wasn't in your specific target market, you should still definitely build for them and you shouldn't tell them to go away. Because obviously we're in the business of making money. So the goal is to make money. If someone comes and they're not your ICP, it's completely fine. Just build it for them. Now later on, once you actually are in business for a while and you're hitting these scaling limits, so you've basically been in business for let's say 1 year or 2 years and you're actually making good money, then you can make the decision of if someone comes in and they're not your target market, you can refer them to someone else and just take a portion of that entire ticket as a referral fee. Because in that time, you've already learned and now you should just focus on the person that's going to bring you the highest ROI, which is your actual niche. So what I'm trying to say is at that point, once you're in business for a while and you're making a lot of money, you have options. You should just focus on what makes you the most amount of money with the least amount of effort. Whereas when you're starting out, your goal should just be to make money and learn as soon as possible. So even if you had someone come in that wasn't your specific niche, definitely build for them, definitely get paid, definitely learn, because that's what it's all about. So as I said, choose a niche, but if someone comes that's not inside your niche, you should still build for them. So at this stage, I want you to just choose whether you want to go niche or broad. There's no need for you to still choose a niche right now. Just decide, are you going niche or are you going broad? Here's my recommendation on what I would do when it comes to choosing who I'll sell to and what I'll actually sell. So if I were to open my business fresh again from the start, meaning I was new to the industry as an AI automation agency, what I would do is I will start in the top right quadrant and then go to the bottom right quadrant. Meaning I'll start with custom niche and then go to product niche. What this means is first I'll start selling custom solutions inside a specific vertical or a specific niche. For example, I'll sell custom solutions to real estate agents. Now in this process, what's happening is I'm saying, hey, real estate agents, what I do is I sell AI automation solutions to solve problems for real estate agents. So basically what's happening in this phase is I'm saying I solve real estate agents' problems with AI and automation, right? So what I'm doing is I'm talking to different real estate agents and I'm solving their problems with AI. So what's happening in reality is they're telling me the problem that they're faced with and I'm giving them the solution to that problem. Just like what I was talking about before with the custom solutions agency. Now, what will happen over time as you talk to more and more real estate agents is that you will find a lot of them have a specific problem that they all find very valuable and very important. So what is actually happening is you're finding a real problem that exists inside your niche. And the reason why I'm calling it a real problem is because you actually found that this problem exists by talking to that specific ideal customer. You didn't just find that this problem exists by sitting down on a piece of paper and thinking, oh, what would real estate agents potentially be faced with? Maybe lead generation, maybe this. This is you making assumptions. Whereas if you were to choose a niche and sell custom solutions to that niche, what you're doing is you're doing discovery. You're talking to real estate agents day in and day out, and they're actually telling you what their real problems actually are. And once you find that one problem that a lot of them are faced with and a lot of them are willing to pay money for, well, what you do is you build a product to solve that problem, or you solve that problem with a solution, and then you sell that to everyone else in the industry, meaning you productize. So to reiterate, what you do is you sell custom solutions to a specific niche, and in doing so, you talk to a lot of them and find different problems that they have, and you obviously solve those problems for them and get paid quickly. And then once you find that one real problem that everyone actually has, what you do is you solve that problem and sell it to everyone else inside that niche, meaning you productize. So you go from custom niche to product niche, or from the top right quadrant to the bottom right quadrant. And if we go back to this graph of the hourly rate over time that I introduced before, the reason why going custom niche and product niche is super valuable is because, as I said, first you're selling custom solutions. So what's technically happening is you're still making money pretty quickly. It's this green line here. You're making money with the custom solutions rate. So you're making money quickly, right? And during this phase, what you're doing, as I said, is you're doing discovery, meaning as you're building out these solutions for different real estate agents, you're understanding what the market actually needs, what their real problems actually are. And then once you've identified that problem, what you do is you build a product around that problem and you sell it to everyone else inside that market. So what's technically happening is you're riding the wave of the custom solutions by quickly making money because you're selling custom solutions. You're not building this product in advance. And then what you're doing is once you find a problem that everyone has, you're reselling the solution to that problem to everyone else, meaning you're now scaling beyond your custom solutions limit by productizing. And so you're riding the product wave to go even higher than what you would have just selling a product straight away. So from a quickness perspective or from a speed perspective, you're making money quicker, so the speed is going to be higher. And also from a scalability perspective, what you're doing is you're still scaling far beyond the custom solutions agency, and you're even scaling beyond the productized agency, because what you'll be able to have is you can still be kind of selling custom and also products. So the limit that you would hit would be higher than both selling just custom solutions or just products. So from a scalability perspective, it's also much more scalable. Now, the other added benefit here is that, let's say, for example, you talk to, 10 different real estate agents and you build out 10 different solutions. Well, one of these real estate agents would have got you to solve that specific problem for them with a solution that you gave them instead of money. And what I'm trying to say here is that instead of you having to build out this product in advance and not get any money for it, what you're actually doing is you're selling the solution to this problem as a custom solution, meaning they're paying you to build this product. So you never actually built a product for no money. You built the product for a specific person, and then you resold that product to everyone else. So it's much higher ROI for you as a AAA agency owner. And also, if you think about it, because you're selling custom solutions first, what you're doing is you're actually, as I said, you're learning AI. So you're learning the broad concepts that you need to know as an AI consultant. So you're becoming well-versed across different sections of AI, and you're also learning the AAA model, right? You're learning how to actually fulfill for a customer. You're learning sales. You're learning marketing. You're learning running a AAA business because you're selling custom solutions first, because you're not wasting time sitting down and trying to build a product in advance. So you're learning how to run the business, and you're also learning the technology that you're selling, which is AI. And then once you find that real problem, well, you solve it and then you sell it to everyone, meaning you make more money than you would have as a custom solutions agency. So I would 100% recommend selling custom solutions in a niche first. So that should be your first step, finding a niche and selling custom solutions inside that niche. And then once you find the real problem, build a solution to solve that problem, or build a product and then sell it to the people inside that niche. That would be my recommendation for anyone that's starting out as a new AI automation agency owner. Now, at this stage, you might be looking at me recommending to go with custom solutions and saying, I know 100% that a problem actually exists. For example, if you choose the real estate niche, you might be saying, I've worked as a real estate agent for 15 years and I 100% know that lead generation is a problem. And it's a problem that real estate agents would 100% pay for. Well, in that case, if you know that 100% a real problem actually exists because you have the data to back it up, well, then I would recommend definitely starting as a productized agency. But if you're starting as a productized agency, what I would also recommend is starting as a productized agency in a niche, meaning don't go broad with your product, go niche with your product. So for example, build a lead generation for real estate agents. Don't just build lead generation for whoever wants lead generation. And the reason for that is actually twofold. So first and foremost, the actual product that you're offering people is a solution to a problem that they're facing, right? So there is a specific buyer, they have a problem, you're offering them the solution in the format of a product, and they're paying you for that solution to their problem. So if you don't know exactly who you're solving the problem for, the solution that you provide them isn't going to solve their problem completely. So generally, when it comes to building a product, the most important thing you can do is identify who your exact ICP or who the ideal customer is, who the actual customer that you're selling to is, identifying what their actual problem really is, and then solving that problem for them. If you don't know who you're selling to, how are you going to know what their problem actually is, and how are you going to build a solution that solves their problem really well? And so that is the first reason of going with a niche if you're deciding to build a product. Now, the second reason goes back to what I was talking about before. From a marketing perspective, it's really hard to go broad. You're going to be struggling with choosing who to target inside your marketing efforts. And you're also going to be building marketing messaging that doesn't actually resonate with anyone. So for example, you can just say, make more money. Okay, well, who is making more money? How are they making more money? What problem are you solving for them to make more money, right? So from a marketing perspective, it is always more beneficial to choose a specific vertical or a niche and then have messaging that resonates with that person really well. That is the way to have truly successful marketing. And so if you guys do decide to go down the productized route because you know 100% a real problem actually exists, then I would recommend starting out directly inside a niche and making sure that your product actually solves that specific person's problem really well. So to sum up, if you're new to running an AI automation agency, I would recommend starting with selling custom solutions to a specific niche or this quadrant here. And then as you do discovery and you talk to multiple people, once you identify a real problem, build a product to solve that problem, and then sell it to everyone else inside that niche, turning yourself to a productized agency inside a niche or product niche. On the other hand, if you 100% know a problem actually exists and you have real data to support it, then what you can do is just directly start inside this bottom right quadrant, build the product and sell it to everyone inside that specific niche. Now that is what experience has taught me and what I would recommend for anyone that wants to run an AI automation agency successfully. But there is a million ways to do business, and if you guys want to start from a different quadrant to do something else altogether, that's also completely fine. Now, as always, if you guys found this video useful, I'd really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below. But otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video.